But he is deserving and qualified. Yes, and younger than many of the current members. Our line of the year, we have a slide presentation. I should just started here. There, doesn't that look better? Our line of the year for 2016 is a farm boy, born and raised in the dry, dusty fields of eastern Colorado. But he was always destined for greater things. He vowed as a child to leave the desolate farmland of his hometown and succeed in the big city. Maybe in Brush, maybe in Sterling, maybe, and the boy's got to be big, maybe Grand Junction. This man spent his summers on the farm since both his grandparents were farmers. He was around animals, especially sheep. He always seemed to love sheep. He either drove the tractor or rode on the arm. Truly a farm boy. In his spare time, he liked to chase rabbits, or he would scout deer and antelope to later during hunting season, theoretically. His mother was an elementary school teacher for 30 years, while his father was in city management. But this young man was also greatly influenced by his grandparents. Once, when he was about 2 years old, he was sitting in the car with his grandfather while his grandmother was shopping in J.C. Penney's. So Grandpa Harold taught him how to whistle at pretty girls. And so he did. And then a girl walked by, and this kid didn't whistle. And Grandpa asked why, and our future line of the year said loudly in a voice the girl could hear, "But Grandpa, you said to whistle at the pretty girls." He would hunt almost anything, with his grandpa Keith especially, deer, antelope, geese, coyotes, anything that moved. His mother was not a hunter, but would sometimes go along to support. But Joan didn't care for the end process where the hunter dresses out to kill, so she would be out of sight for that part. Once, on a hunting trip on our lion was about 5 years old, he dutifully ran back and forth, giving his mother a play-by-play of the gutting process, elaborately explaining which organ was being removed and how much blood there was. He was thoughtful like that. He also liked to put on shows and would drag his younger sister Amy into the process. Kind of like Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland in those movies from the 1940s, which no one here is old enough to remember. Amy also tells about the time when her brother was in 4th grade that he was home alone and his parents told him not to let anyone into the house. But they didn't tell him that they had a plumber coming over for an appointment later that afternoon. The plumber arrived, but the 10-year-old boy would not let him in. Our lion was involved in sports at an early age. He may not have been very good, but in a small town that doesn't really matter. After Little League practice, he would come home and hit hundreds of balls off a tee to perfect his swing. He also played football and was a wrestler. This lion was a know-it-all. And that hasn't really changed, but there's nothing really wrong with that, is there? He was always free to express his opinion, even at Sunday school. Most teachers and pastors find that annoying, especially in the middle of a sermon. Next to his bed was always a stack of books and magazines on sports, politics, religion, history, economics, and fantasy football. All the heavyweights. And guns. He loved his guns. He was something of a Renaissance redneck. In high school, he was on some very successful football teams, including an undefeated state champion when he was a senior. He also had bronchitis and walking pneumonia that year, but he still played and they still won. According to family legend, he was a triple threat in football, playing end, tackle, and guard. They told him to sit at the end of the bench, guard the Gatorade, and tackle anybody who tried to dump it on the coach. He led her in football and baseball, wrestling not quite. While in high school, he was involved with more than just sports. He was in choir and show choir, band and jazz band, and theater. His mother remembers him as a good kid, busy but never in trouble. His father says he knows better and never told him. That's
probably true.
Sometimes his youth, I think that's from Romeo and Juliet. Sometime in his youth, he decided he was smarter than his father. That didn't go over well, but in recent years, our lion has decided that Dad's a lot smarter than the son realized. He pretended to be popular with the girls. He bragged to his friends that he was seeing the prettiest girl in town, which was technically true until his family could afford to buy bedroom curtains. See, that was a joke. He was also very protective of his little sister. When he was in high school, as a senior, she was a freshman. So he assigned the football team to make sure no one ever asked Amy out on a date. This experience scarred Amy for life. She ended up becoming a nun, which is difficult for a Methodist. This future lion was into heavy metal and bands like Metallica and AC/DC. Not typical for most farm boys in eastern Colorado. When it came time for college, our lion wanted to follow in his mother's footsteps and become a teacher. His mother talked him out of it. She told him he would be unhappy with the changes coming in education. Aren't we all? So he decided to go into journalism, broadcast journalism. And he chose Mesa State College because someone mentioned that back in the uranium boom, Grand Junction was radioactive. College changed this young man, especially when it comes to music. He left the farm in a Camaro and a Metallica t-shirt. He came home later in a cowboy hat and a pickup. Axl Rose was heartbroken. Here he is learning the manly art of finger pointing. At Mesa, he was involved in the Criterion, college's weekly newspaper, as well as the campus radio station KMSA. He was sports editor at the paper and eventually station manager of KMSA. He was also involved in student government. He eventually graduated from Mesa State in 1997 with a BA in mass communications, very common degree among Lions of the Year. He spent a few months as a public relations intern at St. Mary's, then went on to work for Dick Maynard at Jandai Broadcasting, owners of KUKV, Cool, Mix 104.3, etc. He rose from a lowly hat salesman to a semi-lowly sales manager. Once again, practicing the manly art of finger pointing. But this experience in radio changed his life. In addition to learning the ropes of broadcasting, he was partnered with Sean McGregor as a sales team. And it was Sean who dragged him to a meeting with Mesa Mall's management. And at that meeting was Jamie Mann, the new assistant marketing director at Mesa Mall. They all went out to Red Lobster for lunch. Jamie squirted him in the eye with lemon juice. She still claims it was an accident. And that bitter encounter led to the karaoke the following weekend, and then more dates. They started dating in April, got engaged in July, and planned to marry before the end of the year. Here's the announcement from the paper. Word quickly spread that Brad McCloud was marrying a man.
That's true. That's true.
And when a man marries a man, there's a lot of confusion. This wedding photo is in the family home. Their youngest son, Keenan, calls it Mommy and her first husband. They got married on New Year's Eve, 1999. And then they partied like it was 1999, because technically it still was. And while that was just the beginning of the McCloud family, Brad quickly learned who was the boss in the relationship. Brad's career took many turns in the coming years. He went from KUKV and other radio stations to KJCT, where he eventually became sales manager. Then moved on to real estate with Brand Company for a few months. Then back to television with KKCO, where he was director of new business development. And finally, In 2011, he joined EIS as a project manager. He's been there ever since, taking on a variety of responsibilities for this rising bunch of lobbyists. In addition to managing projects, he has handled public relations, delivered policy speeches, even testified before Congress. He's spouting his opinion far and wide and getting paid for it. Here's Brad in his element, surrounded by the media, all women. On the home front, Brad and Jamie had two sons, Keith, born in 2004, and Kevin in 2008. Just before Keith was born, the McClouds were at Country Jam. Brad wanted to ride the mechanical bull. Jamie told him if he gets thrown and breaks his arm, he still has to change diapers. Brad got thrown. Brad broke his arm. Brad still changed the diapers. Adding kids brought out the dad in Brad, and also the coach. While Brad had coached Babe Ruth baseball when he was in high school, he went at it in earnest with his two sons. He coached Pee Wee wrestling and baseball starting in 2008, and is coaching flag football now as well. A lot of coaching. I love that. He spends less time on the farm than he used to, but he still loves animals. Some animals he loves to kill. Some he just loves.
God, you've waited years to do that. Years.
Right about now, Jamie's remembering something that God said the day he proposed. There will never be another you. Brad joined the Junction Lions in November 1, 2001. Since joining the club, Brad has held a variety of board positions, including president in 2006. He's been the carnival chair, membership chair several times, booth captain, ticket team captain, general media and marketing guru for the club for years. He leads the Men in Heels efforts among other activities. He sometimes dresses up in outlandish costumes for the parade, and has even been known to drag his kids into the act. But Brad is involved in other aspects of the community. He's a member of the JUCO committee, helping with marketing as well as a public address announcer. And Brad has been a volunteer or member or board member or committee member or something at one point or another in all of the following: the Grand Junction Chamber of Commerce, the Delta Chamber of Commerce, the Grand Junction Economic Partnership, Club 20, Mind Springs, Home Builders, Sober Grad, Piazza Energy Action Council, CMU Foundation, CMU Alumni Association, the National Association of Realtors, the Colorado Association of Realtors, the Grand Junction Area Association of Realtors, Walkerfield Airport Authority, and School District 51. When Brad was in high school, his family reports he was on the go around the clock with all of his activities. That may not have changed all that much, but a lot of those activities now revolve around the family. I've told you about how he was influenced by his mother, his father, and all four of his grandparents. But there's one person I haven't mentioned. This man. This photo has had a profound influence on Brad. He saw this photo many years ago and told everyone this was the essence of manliness, of virility. Brad said that anyone who would dress like that is truly a man's man, which led to this. Fortunately, they took other family photos. Finally, there's always the great photos that don't really fit into the storyline, but they're hard to resist. So here's all the extras. That's Lucy on the right. The Foster's plaque may be significant here. I didn't ask it, they didn't tell. Every year before JUCO, Brad gets a pedicure.
Brutal.
That's his foot there at the top. And once again, working on disappointed. Brad McCloud is a Lion, and proudly so. Brad has left Fort Morgan and is probably a big part of the Grand Junction community. But most of all, Brad is a husband and a father, and truly dedicated to that part of his life. It's now time to salute our 2016 Lion of the Year, Brad McCloud. Jamie, if I can come up, we also have some flowers for Jamie.
Okay.